Hey, this is Brian again, and I'd like to ask you to do a favor. We can't do this work without people like you, so if you can, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about Bring Back the Porch.
I mean, he is a working dog.
Yes.
He's a working dog, and he wants, even though I know it doesn't look it, he wants to be busy, but it is sad that he is busy, and it's sad that our center is busy, and we're grateful to be able to be here to help.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch brought to you by Bernie Leahy, River Street Realty. Let's get you home. A wise person once said that not all superheroes wear capes. Some wear collars. That person was Christina Johnson from the Sanare Centre.
Oh, no, that's Jackson.
Jackson is the reason we're here today. You alluded to getting a service dog in your last visit. Since then, Jackson has arrived.
I did. And we're really grateful to the community of Medicine Hat and all the individuals and businesses that supported us in fundraising to bring Jackson home to Sanare, to be able to bring comfort care to the children and the families and the adults that visit our center.
I think you, on your webpage, you have listed a couple of people who actually are groups that really contributed large amounts of money towards this.
Yeah, we have them all on our social media page, and I don't want to give a shout out just in case I miss anyone. So I recommend that people go to our Instagram page or our Facebook page to be able to check that out. And there were people who donated large amounts and small amounts, and we're grateful for that. And there's also some people that chose to remain anonymous.
That's the best donation of all.
They just wanted to be good, like community members, and help us help others.
So how has Jackson been brought on?
Oh my goodness, he has brought, I know you can't see it now as he lays on the floor here, but he has brought so much life to the organization. Whether he's seeking treats, which he doesn't get very often because that's his reward for working, whether he's seeking treats or connection with our staff or supporting the children and adults that access our services. He's been a remarkable piece of support.
Sad that he's been busy.
Yes. I mean, he is a working dog.
Yes.
He's a working dog, and he wants, even though I know it doesn't look it, he wants to be busy, but it is sad that he is busy, and it's sad that our center is busy, and we're grateful to be able to be here to help.
So what is his role? What does he do?
Well, Jackson is like a jack of all trades. Really, that's what he is. And so Jackson goes to court with survivors of sexual violence, with child survivors of sexual violence and child abuse. He can go to court with them. He can sit in on a therapy session if therapy is hard and they're going through something that's really hard to speak about at that time. He has provided remarkable support for that. He also can go in with our education program to schools to be able to speak with kids. So those are his main jobs, is really to provide that comfort and support. Can I tell you a little story? Mm-hmm. We had a little guy come in. He was quite young, and he really wasn't sure he wanted to come for therapy. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes people experience sexual violence, and they're not ready for support just yet. But his parents really wanted him to come in. And so he came in and he played in our playroom, and we started therapy. And at the end of the session, we said, "What do you think?" And Jackson, by the way, came in for the session and played with Jackson. And at the end of the therapy session, the therapist said, "What do you think? Do you think you'd like to come back?" And he goes, "No," he said, "I don't think I need to come back right now, but maybe later. But I'll take the dog home," is what he said. And we said, "No, the dog stays, but you can see him when you decide to come back."
Okay.
And so that's one story. And then another story is that we met with a young man who came in and was seeking services and needed support, and Jackson was laying in the room. And this was actually the first person that Jackson supported. Jackson was laying in the room brand new, and the young man was telling his story of his trauma, and he started to cry. And Jackson, he's got some like Yoda type power to him. Jackson, without being cued, got up, walked over, laid his head on the young man's lap, and provided that comfort. And the young man settled and was able to continue. to do the work that he needed to do. So we can talk about like the things that Jackson does, but the comfort that he brings is what's so special.
So how did Jackson come about?
Well, because we, of course, Sanare is a trauma center, and we have the Child Advocacy Center, and we have the Sexual Assault Center. And service dogs, facility dogs, are very common in child advocacy centers. And so we started looking, and we started going on a superhero search, and I dropped my dog, Rosie, off at doggy daycare. We were looking for a service or a facility dog, and the wait is 2 to 3 years often to get a dog. And so I dropped my dog off at doggy daycare because she loves to play and she's spoiled. And then I turned the corner and I saw, lo and behold, in Medicine Hat, a sign that said Summit Service Dogs. And I said, what is that? And then I got back to Sanare and I looked it up, and I phoned up Natalie at the time and said, Natalie, do you train service dogs? Tell me about what you do. Tell me about the certifications. Tell me about all this. I need a facility dog. And so we talked, and then from there, we started talking about what Sanare's needs were, both for all of the programs I spoke about. And she said, you need a really robust dog. And I said, yeah, we need a very special dog. We need a superhero. So Natalie brought in 2 dogs. She brought in Java and she brought in Jackson. And Jackson really met our needs because Jackson is low key. He can sit in a courtroom for 8 hours and he'll be fine. Where Java, she wanted to go do some things. She'd be better in schools and stuff like that. And so she started training Jackson specifically for our center. And that's how Jackson came to be. Then we trained him, worked with them. They did the majority of the training. They trained us. We fundraised, worked with the community to bring him home. And now Jackson, he stays with our Director of Client Services. That's where he stays at night. He comes to the center during the day. Julia is one of the handlers. Brenda is the other. And then he works and he goes home at night, just like you and me.
Yeah. Dog's life.
Totally.
Yeah. I asked you this when you came in the door with Jackson about petting a service dog.
Yeah. So when the dog is vested, they're working. And so it's always best to ask, because we can have people pet Jackson, but we have to release him first so that he knows. And so when the dog is vested, always ask permission or you leave them alone. But the handler will know.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about his sixth sense when he knew.
He knew.
Yeah. And I don't know, like the history of comfort dogs, I'm not even sure how somebody once upon a time found out that they can serve in this role.
I don't know. Well, just, like my dog, she knows how I feel most often. But these guys, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't mean to cut down my dog. She is amazing and we're very close. These guys, there's something special. Like I said, some Yoda power where they just zero in and go and they know what to do.
Sad that we have to talk about this, but May is Sexual Violence Awareness Month. And as I said before, it's sad that we have to have a month to make people aware of this when it's a 12-month problem. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening in the month. I noticed on your social media, you said that 1 in 3 people, that's how many Albertans know someone who's experienced sexual violence. 1 in 3.
Well, 67% of Albertans came forward. We did a piece of research. We did a Albertan prevalence study in 2020, and I was privileged enough to work on that study. And it's 67% of Albertans know somebody. So someone has told them that they've experienced sexual violence in Alberta under the age of 18. We also know out of that same study was approximately almost 1 out of 2 women by the age of 18 and almost 1 in 4 men by the age of 18 have experienced sexual violence of some sort. And what we mean by some sort is that it would meet the threshold for criminal charges.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
95% of survivors do not report they've been assaulted, the most underreported crime in Canada.
I know, it's so sad. It's so sad. Most people don't report. And one of the things that Sanare is doing for that is that we have a specialized criminal justice navigator program, or a police and court support program, where people can come and tell us their story, and then we can help them decide whether they'd like to report to police or not. And then we can help walk them through and guide them through the criminal justice system as they seek justice or not. So we know that that is very true, that it's about 95%. We know that people aren't accessing the criminal justice system because maybe there's a lot of stigma around it, or maybe they've watched too much, Law and Order, and there's a lot of misconceptions about it. And navigating the criminal justice system can be both very hard and it can be healing at times. So working with one of our specialized criminal justice navigators can help them decide what they want to do and actually discern what is true and what is not.
And having a service dog.
Well, yes.
That does help.
Believe it or not, it does help to know that you've got not only a guide by your side with our staff, but like a dog by your side.
Yeah. And no judgment from the dog.
No, he might judge if you don't have the kibble, but but he doesn't judge. No.
Sexual violence is gender-based and rooted in systemic and structural inequality and social dynamics of power and oppression. It's become part of our lifestyle.
Yeah, it's so sad.
How do we root that out?
Well, we start to make change. We start to look at the systems that reinforce it. We hold people accountable for using offending behavior. And we talk about it. And we talk about it a lot. And we realize that sexual violence isn't about sex. It's about using sex as a weapon to hurt people. Much like I don't say, like if I hit you with a baseball bat, I don't call it baseball, right?
No, yeah.
I call it physical assault.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening.
It's a cultural thing.
It is
We need a shift in our culture.
We do.
And part of that is engaging men and boys in how to build relationships. And I know when you were here last time, you spoke about a program called Empowerment. Yeah,
we're really excited about the Empowerment Leadership Program. Currently have a credit mapped for 3 credits to be run in schools. So if young men take this, and what it is it's focused on social emotional learning and leadership. What we do know is that men want to be part of the solution. Men and women, all of us, all genders, we all know that sexual violence is wrong. And men have historically felt excluded from the conversation and excluded from partnering to end it. And so the Evolvement Leadership Program is all about that. It's all about positive allyship, making great change, doing great things in the community, and about ending gender-based violence.
One of the things on the Government of Alberta website in talking about ending sexual violence is improving the response when someone comes forward. Is that getting better?
Yes. So when we did that prevalence study, we did talk about responses, and most people knew, and I can't remember this stat, I'm sorry, that's one that's gone from my brain, but it is getting better. People are more likely to be believed than they were 20 years ago. And what I say is it's just a nice little thing to have in your tool belt is when someone discloses sexual violence to you, and someone will, most likely in your lifetime, just to look at them and say, I believe you. It's not your fault. That person made the choice to hurt you. And if you so choose, I'll get you some help with that. And if it's a child, rather than saying, if you so choose, you say, I'm going to try to get you some help with that.
I think there's a differentiation there between under 18 and over 18.
Totally.
Funding from the government, too, is important, and they say that they have stabilized funding for this area. Hopefully that's true.
I would say that we have a core funding amount, which makes up a portion of Sanare's funding. So there is a core funding amount, and then we are fundraising and grant chasing for the rest of the dollars to be able to do the work that we do.
So it's just not automatically there?
No.
Yeah. How do we support the survivors?
Through those key phrases that I said. I believe you. It's not your fault. Someone made a choice to hurt you. Maybe you say that one. And if you'd like, I get you some help with this. So do that. Attend community awareness events. For example, the library has a play that's happening. It's actually tonight, so it'll probably be too late by the time this goes out. Mm-hmm. So that's happening. Red dress events, stuff like that. Get out, get active. So you could do that. We have the program for the young men, which is the leadership program in schools. We also have the involvement circles that are happening once a month. If you go to the Involvement Leadership website, you'll be able to see that. And that's men and people who support men who come together to talk about men's mental health, as well as to create change in community and to keep things moving. And so I know that they were planning something this month, so we're really excited about that. So it was a topic of conversation in their circle as to how they make change. So make change. Of course, donate so that we can support people. And those donations go to things like looking after Jackson and making sure we keep the lights on and support the people. And yes, that's very important that he has plenty of treats because he works hard. Yeah. But it's going to take all of us to make a change. It's cultural. It takes us all.
If someone notices someone is being victimized, how do they intervene? I think there's 4 Ds that they mention on the government website.
Well, geez, you're going to have to tell me what the 4 Ds are.
Direct, address the situation head on. Calmly explain your concerns, ensuring the other person knows what they need to do in order to correct their behavior.
I see. Yes.
And then the next one is distract.
Yes.
De-escalate the situation by changing the subject, starting a conversation with the victim, or starting a loud conversation with someone else. Delegate, get somebody else involved, get them to call 911 if the incident is serious. And also delay, check in with the person that you're worried about afterwards. You just follow up with them. So those are the 4 Ds. They came from the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton.
Great. And that sounds like a bystander approach.
Yeah.
So if you see something happening, I thought you meant if someone was, like you were worried someone had experienced sexual violence. But yeah, that's bystander approach, which is one of the most effective ways of stopping sexual violence is people calling other people in. What we know is that it's really hard to call people in. Mm-hmm. And so we want them to do it, but people are also worried about their own safety. And it's hard. It's really hard. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And we can do it. Yeah.
Another tip here too, and this is probably important, tell police if you see anyone adding something suspicious to another person's drink.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen that. We've seen lots of news stories about people being victimized because somebody put something in their drink. I think they call it date rape.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That, and do you know what the most commonly used drug is to sexually assault someone? Alcohol.
Okay.
And people take it willingly.
Yeah.
So, of course, we want to watch that and stop and intervene if somebody is putting something in their drink, and to know that that is one of the most commonly used ways. If
someone is watching or listening to this and they would like to contact the Sanare Centre, how do they do it?
Just look us up, sanarecentre.ca is our website. Our phone number is 403-548-2717. And of course, you can email us. We're there. Social media, people reach out through social media, but we don't monitor that all the time. The best way is to call in, leave a message, or to send an email, and then we can go from there.
Could someone request that they have Jackson with them when they come in?
Of course. Now, how it works is they can request, but we triage Jackson because he's a busy guy. Mm-hmm. So if he's supporting a child through a child forensic interview, or he's going to court, or he's working with a child, that comes first. So if Jackson is available, and then he can go work with them.
Okay. I understand that Jackson has a special talent.
Oh, well, he has a few.
Mm-hmm. But he's a game-playing dog.
And not like in the games like I mess with your head. Yeah. So Jackson, firstly, he can push a button, and the button says things, so we can do that. Jackson can roll a dice. But that's not how we're making money with Jackson. There's no gambling at Sanare. There's no little ring. And the third one, which is really exciting and we love, and we'd love to get someone here to play with him, is he plays Kerplunk.
He plays Kerplunk. That one blew me away.
So imagine being a little person waiting to go and testify in a courtroom. And while you wait, rather than worry and be caught up in your anxiety, you're sitting on the floor playing Kerplunk with a dog.
Well, I don't think I can get down on the floor with you, Jackson. But maybe we'll find somebody here in the studio, among the studio audience, to come on down.
Well, I would say that, there is still rules for Jackson. Like, we can't, no dogs on the table, right? So we can't bring him up.
No, so we have to go down to his level.
That's right.
So we're going to see if we can find a volunteer.
Voluntold or volunteer.
To come and play a game of Kerplunk with Jackson.
That sounds like so much fun.
Thank you for the visit.
Thank you, as always, for having me on.
You're welcome.
It's a pleasure.
Jackson, pick. Oh my God. Try again. Thank you. Pick.
He's better at this than I am.
Jackson, pick.
Good dog. He's better at this game than I am.
Pick.
Are those
Jackson,
treats?
pick.
They're marbles. Getting beat by a dog right now.
I know some marbles down. Jackson, pick.
Jackson,
Jackson, pick. You picked two that time.
Oh, hey, buddy.
Not those ones. Pick.
Sorry, didn't mean to take your sticks, buddy.
Jack, pick. Oh, thank you.
Ooh, which one do I take?
choose wisely.
Jackson, pick. Oh, boy. Jackson, pick. Jackson, 5.
Oh my goodness.
Got one that time.
No.
Jackson, pick. Pick.
How many people left there?
There he did it. Kerplunk.
Oh my goodness.
Good boy.
Yay!
Jackson.
And it's